He's a quiet man, that's what she said. He's a thoughtful man, it's just he likes to keep his thoughts up in his head.
So the question is about my favorite collaboration, and I would say they've all been really great in their own funny way. You know, I did a collaboration with Richard Schindel and Lucy Kaplansky, and we were just, you know, we had been gigging alone for so long, and then we would come to these gigs together and we would have the exact same, you know, oh, I love this club. Oh, you know how they put those pretzels in the dressing room, and then there's that guy who steals them? Oh yeah, you know, and so it's sort of that simpatico after so much sort of aloneness and road ratness, you know, actually was a really great way to travel. And but Joan Baez every night was great. There was one night that we were up in that we were down in North Carolina, and she was singing Amazing Grace, and they had lights behind these old stained glass windows that they could turn on, and they'd mentioned that they could, and suddenly they just came up, and in the middle of the song, and it was like singing with Joan and this whole audience in song, and then the lights coming up and the stained glass windows everywhere. You know, that was one of those things that you don't quite get with anybody else. But then she also, we were in Chicago, and she made me shave my armpits because I was still like not doing that. And she was like, this has to stop. And she said, you know, go. And I used Richard Schindel's razor. And then I came and I said, and she lifted up my arm in front of the whole Chicago Opera House and said, look, she shaved her armpits. And I said, and Richard just threw out his razor. I can't believe it. I'm so offended. So that, you know, so there was stuff like that. And John Prine also, you know, was I didn't do really well the first time I played in front of his audience. I didn't really understand them. And he came up to me and goes, so how'd it go? And I said, I can't really tell because I wasn't wearing my glasses. He goes, oh yeah, I do that on purpose sometimes. So it was, you know, these folks who have been out there for a long time know that part of their role is to be somewhat compassionate and kind, and to sort of break you into all of the dynamic ups and downs of being on the road. So I don't have one favorite because they were all really very special and helped me, you know, stay sane, and also made this, you know, really great job. The Boston folk scene was intimidating. It was intimidating. It was intimidating because a lot was about to happen. So the stakes were high, and it was a competitive scene. But looking backwards, you know, for the right reason, because a lot of people coming out of this open mic scene where, you know, you pay $2 to pay 2 songs, you pay 75 cents for a brownie and 50 cents for some coffee, and you hang out, was the launching pad for having a nationally touring career that would be the thing that you were going to do as your career. And there are people who were really great songwriters who sometimes didn't have a great voice, or just it didn't quite go there, and other people where, you know, they needed some work. I needed a lot of work, and I needed a group of peers around me. But, you know, Ellis Paul, the scene that I was in, you know, somebody came to me and said, my roommate came to me and she said, my friend just quit her job at Pizzeria Uno's to go full-time with music, and she heard your cassette and said you can open for her at Christopher's Cafe. Her name is Patty Griffin. And so it was that kind of world. Jonathan Brooke was there with Jennifer Kimball, and they were in the story, and Ellis Paul started, Vance Gilbert was starting, and, you know, so it was really, and then like a lot of people who were incredibly talented, but it just didn't happen. And then there were all of the really funny, you know, 20-something human politics of, you know, I remember these 2 women came into an open mic, and they were really pretty, they had really long hair, and they sang, and there are these guys in the scene who are 2 guys who are totally into them, and they're both married to those women now. And I was like, what's so great about that? I mean, they're good, but I mean, you know, and I was like, it's because they have really big hair like that, you know, and it turned out, you know, that was, they are great both couples are still married very happily. And it's just funny because it was also a social forge. You know, it's like a crucible of a lot of things at that time in our lives, including like people who really went out and did this very seriously at the other side. I always encourage people who are starting out who ask me what they should do, you know, to be part of a scene. I don't think intimidating is necessarily a bad sign, unfortunately. I'm just glad I didn't quit. I mean, that, you know, if I'd been so intimidated that I quit, you know, that would make me sad, because I think this has been quite an adventure.
Jostling for